Maskmaker came out on headsets this week. Here's our review from our weekly games download podcast. Maskmaker is the new game from Innerspace VR, who previously did the Firebird series in the early days of consumer VR, and then they did Fisherman's Tale 2 years ago, which I'm sure you know is a game I'm very, very, very fond of. It's a very, very different game to Fisherman's Tale. This time around, you kind of stumble across a Maskmaker's workshop. You find kind of like the hidden passage. You go back, find his kind of like working area. Have the power to make masks, and when you put them on, they teleport you into other worlds. You kind of use this mechanic to go back and forth between the real world and these fantasy places, make new masks, gather resources, solve some puzzles, and kind of learn a bit about the story behind that workshop, the people that used to work there. And there's some characters along the way, kind of filling you in with the backstory. It's a really, really, really gorgeous game. I gave it 3 out of 5 in my review. And two of my favorite things about it, first of all, are these 6 different biomes that you explore are absolutely gorgeous. So like there's like a snowy kind of Himalayan mountaintop area, like some really gorgeous beaches, like this really lush forest where you walk along the treetops, and some other really, really cool environments that, you know, having played so much stuff on Quest recently, and Maskmaker is only out on PC and PSVR, it was lovely to sit and just take in these really nice, richly detailed environments that you can't really get on Quest again for a while, like going up to the mountainside and like it's just kind of almost paint-like flecks of snow on the sides of the rocks and whatnot. And that's really, really lovely to see. And it's one of my favorite things in a while to just put a headset on it and just be in. And it's definitely a work of art from a developer that knows how to do works of art, essentially. I also really, really love the actual process of mask making. So what you do is you get like resources from the world, you kind of like chisel away at masks, you paint in the different areas, and it doesn't get really complex until like later in the game. Skiva just mentioned Majora's Mask, and you actually start making stuff that's kind of not quite as intricate, but almost there in terms of like the design of Majora's Mask from the Zelda game. And that is a very fun, immersive thing. You sit there, like you can put the mask on like a little stand and then get some paintbrushes and kind of like fill in the different areas, put on the different resources. And that all feels like really rich and wholesome and authentic. The problem with it for me was as a puzzle game, especially compared to a Fisherman's Tale, but then even compared to stuff we've talked about recently, like Floor Plan 2, it's just far more routine in terms of what it's doing with the mechanics. So there's stuff like pulling levers to like lower bridges to make a path for like a goat to navigate, or finding cogs and putting them in to make sure a bridge is operating at all times. And it's fine. They're fun. They never really hit that really frustrating roadblock because they're pretty easy. But it's all very familiar, not challenging, and ultimately kind of forgettable design in that respect, which is a bit of a shame because obviously Fisherman's Tale was such an incredible, out of this world, haven't seen anything like it in VR before experience. And this, they clearly hooked onto the idea of like using masks to go between different worlds, and they do it very well. The loading on PC at least is very, very quick and it's very seamless. But then once you've got past that mechanic, there's still a game to play, and that's the bit that doesn't really, really hold up very well. There are good puzzles, and the best puzzles kind of tie into the game's story a bit more. There's one I really like, which is you're in this swamp and you make an antidote for like these kind of spores that are growing, and you have to kind of take them out with this antidote. And actually, if you like explore some extra sections in the swamp, you'll find a piece of paper that ties back into the story that gives, I don't want to spoil it, but gives your actions a lot more weight. And it's kind of a very clever, heavy hitting moment in the game. But nevertheless, you know, if you're into kind of light, breezy puzzling experiences, if you want to get immersed in very rich locations, then I think it's for you. It's not as good as Fisherman's Tale, but I still think it's a really pleasant, really lovely, good time.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I think the mechanic of putting something on your face feels very immersive and natural in VR. So I think it's a clever way of communicating the travel between worlds and stuff like that. It's pretty intuitive, and I think virtual reality was one that really kind of showed me how cool and clever that could be. So it's neat to see another game take advantage of it.
There was one bit of gameplay that really drew me in, which I think was a body motion capture. Like it was the masked people dancing or doing kind of looks like a tribal thing. That looked really good.
Yeah, that is cool. And if you've seen Firebird, that actually, the first two things that Innerspace did for like the Vive and the Rift, those are, essentially VR ballet performances. And so in some senses, it's kind of almost a sequel to their work there, which is really, really interesting. Also interesting that they did the motion capture for that stuff at Quantic Dream, the guys that did, Heavy Rain and Detroit and everything like that, because it's some really fantastic, accomplished work, and it's really, really cool to watch in VR. It's kind of like, it's almost like a little Cirque du Soleil full VR experience rather than those 360 videos they put out. Yeah, I really like that. And that was our review of Maskmaker, which is out now on PSVR and PC VR headsets. You can check out the full written review on UploadVR.com, and make sure to join us every week on Thursday for the games-focused VR download podcast. See you there.